Is a good one. Do you expect any more Tory MPs to defect to reform before the general election?
Yes.
How many?
Oh.
How many conversations are taking place with how many different Tories?
I'm just the honorary president, Camilla.
You know, I love this, Nigel. I mean, it's a good game you're speaking, this whole thing that you're a journalist and not a campaigner or a politician, and that you don't know what's going on at the heart of reform. I know that you know what's going on at the heart of reform, because whenever I have to try and find out what reform is plotting, I phone Richard, and then Richard says, I think you better phone Nigel.
Oh, rubbish. That's not true. You've got a first past the post electoral system that buttresses both sides. We don't have the ability as British citizens to have referendums on key issues, because if we did, the country would be very, very chamber. But I do also think, as part of my reform, I look at Switzerland, which is probably the most democratic country in the world, everywhere from canton level, even to local level, up to state level. If the Swiss people want to call a legally binding referendum on an issue because they feel that their parliament's had a step with the country, they constitutionally can call that referendum, and it is a legally binding result. I think if we had, that ability in this country, we would never have seen a population increase of 10 million. Some question somehow would have been. And I also think the House of Lords has become a total abomination, just stuffed full of party donors over the course of the last 20 years, most of whom live within the same two postcodes in West London. I mean, they're even less representative of British society than the House of Commons is these days.
So you won't be accepting a peerage anytime soon? I don't think you'll be offered one at the moment, to be fair.
No, probably not.
Should we have a referendum on immigration?
What would the question be?
Should we cap immigration at 100,000?
But then people will argue, well, it should be capped at 0.
Or should we have net zero on immigration, as you've suggested? Yes or no?
I think a referendum. A referendum that would be useful would be a referendum on the ECHR and whether we should continue to allow a court in Strasbourg to overrule it. No, I think.
Did the Brexiteers miss a trick on that?
No.
Should that have
deliberately? Deliberately.
To keep the left of the Tory party on side.
Of course. Yeah. I urge them again and again. Include ECHR in this when it comes to the Brexit negotiation. Boris was never going to do that. No interest to him. I think if you have a referendum, the question must be very specific. That's why a referendum on immigration is so difficult to do. But I think a referendum on ECHR, I'd love a referendum on the House of Lords, and that would be good sport, wouldn't it? Should we replace it with a mostly elected...
Let's end this on a positive note then. This idea of uniting the right, let's just come back to that. Yeah. Conversations are obviously taking place with disaffected Tories, correct?
I believe so, but I'm not involved with them myself at all, because I'm the honorary president. I have no executive role of any kind at all within the party. That's what I've told Ofcom on behalf of GB News, and coincidentally it happens to be true, which is rather